what I propose we do now is have a coffee break, have a little chat amongst yourselves, and I think if we came back in about 15 minutes, we could wrap this afternoon up, perhaps a bit earlier than we were expecting to. And this will allow the last part of the agenda then will be an opportunity for any further comments that in particular CIS would like to make, any other questions that individuals may have, and just some further closing remarks. Okay, thank you. Members who have presented today would like to ask, or any other comments that they would like to make, and in particular I'm interested in CIS.
I just want to thank everyone who spoke today, and we do want to say that, in our report we have many remedies and recommendations, and we think all of them are important, but there's one that I want to address right now, and that is the fact that Canada is in the process of building 6 maximum security prisons for women, and we think this really needs to stop immediately, and that any of these buildings that are already been built can be easily at this point in time transformed into workshops and classrooms as per promises made in the past. We feel that all women who are in the maximum security units in men's prisons must immediately be transferred to the existing women's prisons, because there is the security there to meet their needs. And finally, we want the empowerment of all prisoner groups, and that's Native Sisterhoods, lifers groups, and prisoners committees, so that they can operate in a fair and democratic manner in a way that is going to meet their needs and their interests inside of the prisons. That's it.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Like I say, 30 years. I went in 73, and this is 2003. In the last 30 years, I've heard nothing but lies and false promises within the institution. Even after this is said and done, everything on paper looks great. But to have any of the programs implemented, there has to be a body of independent women's groups to ensure we get the things we have the right to. I don't feel our human rights should be a privilege.
Thanks, Fran.
Can I go?
Go ahead, Heather. Sorry.
I just wanted to touch on something that was mentioned that Yvonne was talking about, and something that Kim touched on is when the CHRC is, looking into, questioning the CSC, and the CSC is telling the powers that be that look at all these wonderful programs that we've got, and we've been implementing all these things. I think that it's important to not just look at what the programs are and what they are on paper, but to look at how they actually have been implementing them, and what's been happening and stuff like that. I just thought that was important too. Worth noting.
I just wanted to mention that we're usually all poor women, and for women to get their cases heard, they absolutely cannot, because they don't have money to hire lawyers. My lawyer took my case on spec because I was able to bring him enough credible information for him to take a chance. We all don't have that. We all don't have the goodwill of the law community to do that for us. So I think it's worth mentioning that we are poor people, and if I didn't have Caefs, and I know Kim hates this when I send her out, but if I didn't have Caefs here in Ottawa, my lawyer, who is in Toronto, and myself really would be behind the 8 ball financially, because I use Caefs to do all my photocopying from when I did my research at the archives. I use Caefs to do all my faxing, long-distance faxing, long-distance phone calls. Whenever I needed anything that would have cost me money out of my own pocket. Caefs was there to help me, so I do want to say thank you publicly to Caefs.
I was just wondering, like today I heard a lot of talk about section so-and-so and stuff like that. And I think that it's important that for the women inside that they know what their rights are. I mean, even today I don't understand everything that was said and stuff, but I think it's important for the women inside to have some sort of answer to the, you know, their rights, because they don't know. I mean, we don't know anything about the Charter of Rights or the criminal code probably. But I mean, like things like your rights and stuff, I think it's important for the women inside to know those things and to learn that you do have rights, you know, civil rights and stuff like that. So that's all.
Thank you. I'd leave this open just for anybody else that would like to comment. Elisa?
Bonjour, Anin. Meshkode Bijik Kandijnakas, Webshashi under them, Michigan under them, Minomanik Mingandunjaba. My name is Elisa Johnson. I come from Hiawatha First Nation, the traditional home of the Ojibwe Mississaugas. As the Corrections Justice Coordinator for the Native Women's Association of Canada, I'm kind of in a weird position being here, because on one hand that's who funds my position, and on the other hand I'm saying you don't do your job very well, based on my experiences, having worked inside and having been on the receiving end of their financial assistance and the program that we are supposed to be able to deliver, which is to promote and encourage and see the implementation of Sections 81 and 84 of the CCRA. What I want to further impress upon you at the Commission is that while Correctional Services Canada has the Aboriginal Issues Branch, and even while the Solicitor General's Office has the Aboriginal Correctional Policy Unit, we need to implore upon you that it is not enough. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked since it began, and it's not going to change no matter how many Aboriginal people you employ in those departments. That's not the answer. The answer for us at NWAC is for the Commission to take off colonial eyes. Put those aside, because whether you're well-meaning or not, as an Aboriginal person in Canada, we're viewed by a colonialistic perspective. Whether it's intentional, whether in your heart you believe in our rights and you believe in what needs to happen for us, those preconceived notions have been drilled into your head through the time that you were educated in this Canadian system. And it's based on a system that is a conquering system, one that can lord over those who have been conquered. And I would like to add that we've never been conquered. We're still here, and we never went to war against anyone, except ourselves. But the reality is we want you to take a look at seeing that those things that have been provided and seen as and purported to be the most important, innovative ways of addressing Aboriginal issues, and particularly for federally sentenced Aboriginal prisoners, are not good enough, and they're not going to change in any meaningful way. What we are demanding of government is finally the opportunity to take back what is rightfully ours, and that is the control, the care, the custody, and the healing of our people that's resulted from over 500 years of oppressive and basically horrific colonization. Many of those issues have been internalized, and that's why I say please don't expect that because you have Aboriginal people employed in government departments that they actually understand colonization, the impact of that, or many of them may not even understand what being Aboriginal is to the rest of the nations. I really enjoyed the term that our sister Trish gave on the brown blob, because many of the people sitting at this table will understand that here at this table we've had a number of Aboriginal people. Not one of us are from the same nation. Not one of us speak the same language. Not one of us have the exact same ceremonies. And so to treat us as an entity works sometimes to your benefit, but often not to ours. And that is particularly true of women who are incarcerated, because they think that if Aboriginal Issues Branch says we'll provide a sweat, that applies to every nation of Aboriginal people. But that's not how it is. Many nations do not use sweat lodges. We understand that financially it would be almost impossible for you to meet every one of our nation's needs. I don't think we could even begin to look at what the cost of that would be. That's why we're saying, don't try to fix us. Don't let Corrections Canada or even the Solicitor General's office or any form of government think that that's what can be done to fix us. What needs to happen is our women and our men need to come home. We know where the hurt began. It began in our communities as a result of colonization. And the healing is only going to begin outside of those walls. And it's going to begin in the communities where our children, our families, our elders are there and able to assist us in understanding what the total impact has been and how to reclaim what is rightfully ours as women, in particular for those federally sentenced Aboriginal women prisoners, that they can begin to reclaim without being punished further by being removed from the only future they have, and that's their children. Miigwech.
Thank you, Elisa. Could you please identify yourself?
Hi, my name is Carla DiCenso Zian. I know a few of you, but not very many. I work with the Office of the Correctional Investigator. I'm the new coordinator for federally sentenced women's issues in Canada. I took this position in October, and I've had the privilege to go across the country, and I've met about 100 or so federally sentenced women in the last 4 months who I feel privileged to have let me have a little look into their lives and perhaps provide them with some assistance when they have complaints that they feel aren't being addressed appropriately at the institution. We've, I would say generally speaking, that our office has some success at institutional levels, i.e. if I'm able to go in for a visit and there's an issue that I can address with the warden or the deputy warden, sometimes we can get some resolution there. But I think you're all aware that when it comes to systemic issues in the women's correctional system right now, we don't have a lot of teeth behind our annual reports. I guess our office is a little bit concerned that the report that will be coming out here from the Commission may end up the same fate as our own, not having a lot of teeth. So we encourage not only an in-depth systemic analysis be done for the paper, but also to use all the available levers. If that means also working with us to release the document, to make sure it gets the attention that it deserves, and to make sure it gets the follow-up and the action that it needs, we'd be willing to work with you in any way that we can to support that. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your experiences as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anu? I'm not sure who had their hand up first. Okay, Anu? No, it's you.
Thank you. Anu Rose, National Organization of Immigrant and Visible Minority Women. I just wanted to raise a point which may or may not be tangential. First of all, I would agree entirely with her when she says that stop treating us as visible minorities are differentiated. They're even differentiated between within the faith. A Muslim practicing Islam from South Asia is not the same as somebody from the Gulf states or from Egypt. So providing for one does not necessarily mean providing for the other. Having said that, I think that we in the visible minority community are concerned with looking at where people enter the system. That is even pre-sentencing but arrest. This is the whole question of ethnic or racial profiling, of which I think the classification system is only one manifestation. So I think this is something that has exercised us. We brought it up continuously during the Anti-Terrorism Act hearings, and I should like to see that corpus of work integrated into our work here. The second thing is, we've been talking about rehabilitation, the building of prisons. These are symptomatic of the macro picture with which we are faced in Canada today, when paying down the debt has an almost theological reverberation in the minds of our politicians, when any kind of social justice or equity provisions are very much in second place. So we have to look at all of this, not only within the context of a return to the Old Testament conceptions of justice, but also what is the macro picture that informs politics and politicians in this House purporting to speak for us today. And this is not only the party in power, it's the people across from them in the benches. I mean, even the NDP, the great bastion of the left, is now reduced to being a free marketeer. We are all free marketeers. The discourse of politics has changed after the Reagan-Thatcher nexus. And I think we should be very cognizant of that. Thank you.
I would like to step out of the chair for 1 minute and just follow up on what Anu said. I was struck by the Commission's discussion paper in looking at what the CHRC had said. It projects that the number of federally sentenced women in prison will increase to 449 by the year 2004. I wrote a note to myself saying that for some reason they haven't projected that they will not restrict access to prisons by 449 by 2004. And the way this is written, I thought to myself, it sounds like a business perspective. It sounds like we've got an industry going here.
It is.
And I think that what's also important in the report is just, again, to remind ourselves that according to CSC's own information, it costs approximately $19,000 to keep a woman in the community as opposed to $80,000 to keep them in prison. And I think that that's an important economic argument for us to be making and remaking in regards to where the women need to go and follow it up with, and who best can provide those services. Okay, now, Kim?
But remember that economic cost isn't always representative of meeting the needs and building capacity. So I think that's an argument for looking to a capacity building model, but not for just merely accepting that that model that they're using is adequate and that how they're spending is adequate. And I want to thank you, Anu, for giving me some new language for theological reverberation. I like that. I always say deficit dementia. It feels a little more real to me, but theological reverberation of those, whatever else you said was sounded good. I want to just say, because I don't know if we'll have another opportunity before, that I appreciate those who have come. I've already appreciated the women who are here who come from the lived experience and the groups. I also want to say that I appreciate the people from the government who came. I'm disappointed, though, I would have to say, in the number who didn't come. There were a number of people who signed up, approximately 15 to 20 who did not show up. That's why we had so many chairs at the back. And some of you know I was panicking a bit yesterday when I suddenly realized we were oversubscribed, and then realized this morning that, in fact, we weren't. So I want to thank those of you who came. Sometimes when you're representing the interests that are being challenged, it can be difficult to hear the issues. And I know from some of the discussions I've had with some of you throughout the day that you are hearing them. You're as concerned as many of us about those issues. And, while we don't hold you personally responsible for what happens in your department, we do hold you personally responsible as women to be continuing to challenge within those departments. And especially where you were a junior woman sent to hear a message that really should be heard by those who are senior in your departments. And I think, that is especially true in corrections. There were 2 women here who heard the message. And I think it would be difficult to hear that message all day and not feel some personal reverberation. I hope that fuels the fire in your belly that many of us have to ensure that those who are senior in your department take some of the responsibility, both for sending you here to hear it and for not personally being held accountable for it. So I just feel the need to say that. I see this as the beginning of a process, and I'm conscious of what you said, Margaret, about not wanting to start all over again. We're not interested in starting all over again processes that are not working, but we are interested in having a movement that will mean movement, will mean action. And certainly we see that amongst those of us who are involved either as women who have lived the experience, women who walk with and are allied with the women who have lived the experience, and those who are equality-seeking individuals and groups. And we're quite excited about the prospect of engaging in a really important, and I'm not even going to use the word meaningful because that just feels like more recommendations, but really in an action-oriented way to really move this agenda along. I think we're long overdue for
working in an anti-discriminatory way. And you've got lots of evidence. We've got lots of material. You'll be getting lots of print material. You've heard lots of oral evidence, and we're looking forward to actually moving on this path. So I know that some people may feel the need, may think that as government representatives you're expected to respond now. I would love to have that happen, but I think it's absolutely unfair at this point, given that we're moving along. I hope that you've heard it, and I hope that we see the benefit of you hearing it as we move through our continued plans for action in this area. So, thank you.
All right. Oh, Carrie, sorry, I won't take very long. I just wanted to say a couple of short words. First, thank you on behalf of my colleagues and myself for what we've heard today. We heard some really fine legal analyses, some very good recommendations, and some personal experiences and personal stories, which I found, well, I can't echo Tricia's words. She said it better this morning, but I found it also very moving. So I'd like to thank you all for that. On the report, there have been reports, and I think Anne said this morning 50-odd reports in the last 50-odd years, and ours will be another one. What we bring to this is an equality analysis, so we hope we can bring a bit of a different perspective. We heard you on the consultation paper. It wasn't meant to be the whole story. We need to get information from you in a number of different ways through Caefs. Feel free to send us any submissions, informal emails, and we've been saying this for a while now. It's important that we get to hear from you. I wish that our report would be a silver bullet. I'm not naive. I've been doing human rights too long to think that that'll be the case. We hope and believe it'll be a good faith effort to make a change. But I think it's important, and here I want to thank Caefs, because I think it's important that it's not that we're receiving submissions from you and putting our report as the only thing out there. Caefs is helping to build a network here. Kim, you just said a movement for action. And so I see us as part of a broader partnership where messages can come out from a number of different places. Come out from Caefs, come out from all of you, come out from people who've lived the experience, Office of Correctional Investigator, etc. And maybe with that bit of oomph we can stiffen some spines in government. That's the aim. So again, just thanks to Caefs very much for organizing the day, but also for helping to spark a larger coalition of groups that can focus on the issue. So thank you. Well, with that, I would like to bring this session to an end, but not the community building that has gone on. I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for all the work that you have done, all the presentations, the energy, the overcoming of nervous stomachs and all the rest of it, and the timelines. And I hope and I expect that this coalition, this gathering of women's groups around this issue will continue. I want to also thank the translators who have been busy behind us. All right, thank you very much.